States? Are you the Vice President of the United States?
Are you a senior White House official? Are you John Kirby? Where's your wife? I think thumbs up? Thumbs up. 2 thumbs up from the bunny. All right. Thank you. Bye. Happy Easter. Oh, hello everybody. Happy Easter Monday. So I have something at the top for all of you. I think you'll be really interested in this. So President Biden is scheduled to announce he is revoking the Hatch Act. So as a gift to all of you, so now I can actually take all your questions about 2024. No? I thought you would love that. All right, okay. April Fools, April Fools, April Fools. It is April 1st. Thank you. I thought that was pretty slick of me. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. In all seriousness, a couple things at the top. So First Lady Jill Biden, Dr. Biden, a teacher for more than 30 years, is continuing her theme of education. For today's White House Easter egg roll, transforming the South Lawn and Ellipse into a school community full of fun, educational activities for children of all ages to enjoy. In total, approximately 40,000 people will take part in this year's event. 40,000 people. We do want to say a special thank you to the American Egg Board and America's egg farmers for continuing its more than 45-year history of support for the event and for its donation of 64,000 eggs used on the South Lawn and another 64,000 donated to the Capital Area Food Bank to match the eggs used for the roll. And I have some news for you at the top. I know many of you were asking this question over the weekend. President Biden will travel to Baltimore on Friday to visit the collapsed Francis Scott Key Bridge, meet with state and local officials, and get on the ground look at federal response efforts. The president is continuing to lead a whole of government approach to the collapse. President Biden and his team are working with Governor Moore, the congressional delegation, Mayor Scott, and numerous state and local officials to reopen the port, rebuild the bridge, and support the people of Baltimore. Through the Unified Command, the U.S. Coast Guard is coordinating a complex and highly coordinated effort to remove the wreckage with resources from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the state of Maryland, and others. Crane barges are on the scene supporting the mission. In addition, the Chesapeake 1000, the largest heavy lift crane barge on the East Coast, which is nearly 200 feet long and can lift 1,000 tons, arrived Thursday night. And on Saturday, the Unified Command successfully removed the first piece of wreckage. Last week, within hours of receiving the request, the U.S. Department of Transportation announced the immediate availability of $60 million in quick release, emergency relief fund for the Maryland Department of Transportation. We're also doing everything that we can to help address economic impacts. On Saturday, the Small Business Administration quickly approved a disaster declaration and will provide low-interest disaster loans to eligible affected businesses. Today, the SBA is launching 2 business recovery centers in Baltimore County. These centers will support impacted business owners in completing their disaster loan applications. The Department of Labor is working with local and state officials to determine how to assist workers out of work due to closure of the port. Acting Secretary of Labor Julie Su is in Baltimore today meeting with stakeholders, and twice last week the White House convened a meeting for the Biden-Harris administration supply chain disruptors task force to discuss potential impacts on regional and national supply chains. As the president said, within hours of the collapse, this administration will be with the people of Baltimore every step of the way. We are with you, Baltimore, and we will be there until we get this done.
Stay on top of your finances with the QuickBooks mobile app. View your money from anywhere. and get deeper in.
Viewing by air, land, and sea, like flying by
We
Air
will
Force
have
One.
more. We will have more information as we get closer to Friday. I think the important thing is the president has said he was going to go as soon as possible. Now he is going to go on Friday. We certainly will have more information to share. I just don't have any details at this time. Okay, Will.
Thank you. So the criticism over the Transgender Day of Visibility, the White House said that the president wouldn't abuse his faith for political purposes. Does the president think that's what Republicans are doing on this?
I mean, look, just a couple of things, and really so surprised by the misinformation that's been out there around this, and I want to be very clear. Every year for the past several years, on March 31st, Transgender Day of Visibility is marked. And as we know, for folks who understand the calendar and how it works, Easter falls on different Sundays, right? Every year. And this year it happened to coincide with Transgender Visibility Day. And so that is the simple fact. That is what has happened. That is where we are. And I do want to say a couple of things because I think it's important here. As you just stated in your questions, what we've been hearing out there, a lot of misinformation done on purpose. And as a Christian who celebrates Easter with family, President Biden stands for bringing people together and upholding the dignity and freedoms of every American. Now, sadly, and it's not surprising, right? It is actually unsurprising that politicians are seeking to divide and weaken our country with cruel, hateful, and dishonest rhetoric. It is dishonest what we have heard the past 24 hours. It is untrue what we heard over the weekend. And, you know, we were at first, want to be very clear, confused on their coverage. We're grateful that Fox agrees with President Biden about the importance of recognizing Trans Day of Visibility. And I'll just quote something that Fox said back in 2021. They tweeted this: Trans Day of Visibility is dedicated to celebrating transgender people. To all the transgender men, women, and non-binary folk, we see you and stand with you. President Biden will never abuse his faith or for political purposes or for profit. That is not what this administration is about. That is not what being a leader is about. And this misinformation out there is it's bad. And it is dividing, it is caused to divide us. And I want to say one more quote. This is what Politico covered every year. And I said this at the top of my answer: Transgender Day of Visibility is on March 31st. This year, March 31st just so happens to be also Easter, the date of which changes every year. That's how I started out, and that's how I end.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karine. Why are the U.S. and Israelis meeting virtually today instead of having that in-person meeting on Rafah?
So, as you know, I can confirm that there is a virtual meeting happening today with both U.S. Israeli officials to discuss Rafah, the situation in Rafah, and obviously the next steps that we have been hearing that the Israeli government wants to take. This is following the discussions that we all talked about last week with the Israeli Minister of Defense and his delegation. And this conversation today is being led by National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. Look, I think it's important to note that we were able to reschedule this on Friday, and we wanted to move very quickly on this. And today, the meeting is happening virtually because we understand, and obviously you all understand, how important it is to have this conversation. We've been very clear about our concerns about a military operation into Rafah. We know that there are more than 1 million Palestinians who are in Rafah right now, who moved from the north to go into Rafah. And so we want to make sure if there is going to be a military operation, we also know that there are Hamas operators in Rafah as well. But if they're going to move forward with a military operations, we have to have this conversation. We have to understand how they're going to move forward. And I'll say one more thing. When Jake Sullivan was here at the podium not too long ago, he believed and he said there are alternative ways of doing this, alternative ways of going after Hamas. And so they're going to have the discussion. I think it's important that it happen as quickly as it did, even though it's virtual, and we'll certainly have more to share.